Hey everybody, what's up? This is H from the Next Issue Podcast, and by request I wanted to show you all the binder that I do for my comic books. And I know there were some questions on how this was done and what materials were used and how it helps protect the comic books. So I want to take a few minutes to show you what exactly it is that you need and what you should be using, so that way you can have a nice collection of stuff that's not necessarily in a box and not necessarily in a position to be damaged. And let's take a few minutes and figure this out. Okay, so the question that you're asking right now is, H, why are you keeping your stuff in binders? Why not just put them in a frame and put them on the wall? Which I actually do. I do have like a few choice comics that I like to have displayed in my room, but you know, I have a lot of stuff that I also want to display, but I don't have the wall room, as you can clearly see. And the majority of us who are comic collectors have these. We have stuff in long boxes, and granted, not everything should be in a long box. And my idea was to think of something that was cool, where, you know, if I have a friend or two that come over and I wanted to show off my collection without you know, having to bring them into my room or having to go through a box of stuff, a nice safe display where I could put like multiple comics in, because I have a lot of comics, as you all can see. I have a lot of stuff. So with that in mind, we created the binder. So let's go back up and go through what it takes to put the stuff in the binder. And I also want an excuse to show off my room. Okay, so what do you need? Obviously, you need a binder. And I would say the bigger, the better. You can get them from any office supply store like Staples, Office Depot, Walmart, Target, wherever you have you. It shouldn't cost you a lot of money. And the reason why I suggest getting like a larger binder, of course, is because you might have a sizable collection that you might want to put your comics in, and you want to have enough, like if you have a theme, like if you want to put all your signed comics or your vintage comics or something like that, where you can get just enough in without having too many. Now, of course, the idea is when you put your books in the binder, you don't want to put so many in there that you do have to worry about spine roll or bendage or anything like that. Because if you do it right, as you can see, they still more or less sit as a stack, and they're not hitting along the ring where you'd have to worry about bendage. So this is an ideal setup. I believe this book has anywhere between 10, maybe more than 10, but around 15 to 20 books, because it's a big enough binder to do so. Now, what I would say, avoid using these unless you have that extra special 2 or 3 comics that you have to have set aside. Avoid using these because obviously the rings are too small, and they're just not worth it. So don't do it. The other thing that you want to get, you can go to Staples, and you can get these zip closure sheet protectors, which is most important to the whole idea of what you're doing. Because what I like about these is that they're large enough to allow you to take your bagged and boarded comic without having to take it out. So this is already one layer of protection. And what you're doing is you're putting it inside, and then you're sealing it shut. And that's it. And it allows for some room for it to move around just a bit. And then you're going to take it. Of course, it's the wrong side up, but I just want you all to be able to see the face of the book. But that's it. And it allows for enough room for your book to set just so in your collection. And it's something good to have, like I said, when friends come by and you want to show them your collection without either having to drag out a box, or if you have stuff that's just on your wall. Now, of course, some people will complain and say, well, what about your friends? You know, not everybody takes care of books the same way. First rule is, you don't let your friends handle your comics. If you bring your book out, you turn the pages yourself. That way, if something happens, it's on you. But again, this is something nice for you to have, where it almost makes a great coffee table book, but you know, you don't do anything, of course, like letting it sit out in the sun or anything like that. And then the other thing is, of course, if you want to put it on a shelf, you take your book like so. And actually, this binder I'm actually going to switch out because it doesn't have that extra flap. I do have another binder that has that extra flap that overlays, which works really great. But you can take it, set it up, put it on your shelf, and that's it. And what I do plan on doing is having some cover art for it so that way I can distinguish between books. But this is basically the idea for how you put your books in a binder. If you have any other questions, just let me know in the comment section. Thank you.